Hey, greetings! Welcome back to Sean's Irish Whiskey Shelf. Tonight, what I have for you are two bottles of whiskey that are kind of on the lower end of whiskey as far as how much it costs. When you compare these two bottles with, your Spots, your Teeling, obviously your Redbreast, these two bottles are kind of entry level. They'd be like your Jamesons or perhaps your proper number 12, even your Tullamore D.E.W. These are just regular entry-level bottles of Irish whiskey. And it's been a little while since I've tried either of these, so I thought tonight we'd pull both of these down and enjoy a drop together and kind of remember a little bit about what they taste like. So, first up that I have this evening is Kilbeggan. Now, if you go out to your Irish whiskey retailer and you find a bottle of Kilbeggan, it's probably not going to look like this. This is a pretty old bottle. Actually, my father had this for many years, and when he passed, I got it. It is definitely not a bottle that looks like this any longer. I had a newer bottle and completely drained it. And then, now I have this one. But anyway, Kilbeggan, this is a fairly good-sized distillery. This is 80 proof, so 40% alcohol. And like we've talked before about single pot still, single grain, single malt, and then a blend, Kilbeggan is a blend. Kilbeggan is a blend. Get my tongue right here. And I was able to find a little bit of information about this whiskey on their website. So this was first distilled back in 1757, so it's been around for a little while. This distillery is located up in County Westmeath. Now, an interesting thing about this whiskey is that most Irish whiskey is distilled 3 times, so triple distilled, they'll call it. The Kilbeggan distillery only distills this twice because they feel it brings out a little more flavor in the whiskey. On top of that, it is a blend, as I mentioned. It is 94% single grain, that single grain being corn, with the other 6% being malted barley. So this is primarily a single grain whiskey with a little bit of malted barley in there. And again, like I said, only twice distilled. So let's give old Kilbeggan a try. Both of these, by the way, are pretty light in color, not a real dark amber. Kilbeggan being a little bit lighter of the two. So let's see what we got here. Can definitely taste the single grain whiskey coming through in that. That's really not a bad whiskey. I like that. I think single pot still is still my favorite, but this is not a bad whiskey at all. I would consider that an everyday drinker. That's very pleasant. I think that really is kind of reminiscent to me of what Irish whiskey is like. It's only got a little tiny bit of that malted barley kind of taste to it. So little that you can barely tell it's there. So yeah, you want to try some Kilbeggan, I don't think you'd go wrong. It's not real harsh, being only 80 proof. Doesn't have a real big bite to it either, so it's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right, over to Paddy's. Now, Paddy's was first distilled in 1779, so both of these were first distilled back in the 18th century. Paddy's was not originally called Paddy's, or sometimes you might find the bottle that says Paddy without the apostrophe S. Same stuff, Paddy, Paddy's. This whiskey was originally distilled by the Cork Distilleries Company, and they called it the Cork Distilleries Whiskey. Well, one of their most prolific salesmen was named Patrick J. O'Flaherty, and he went by the nickname of Paddy. And he was so good at what he did for the distillery. He did it for 40 years, selling whiskey. And he made friends all over Ireland, all the places that he would go, the bars or whatever, to sell this whiskey. And people started waiting for Paddy's whiskey to arrive. It wasn't called Paddy's yet. It was still Cork Distilleries, but they called it Paddy's whiskey because they kept waiting for this charismatic man to show up with his whiskey. So in 1913, the Cork Distilleries Company up in County Cork renamed this to Paddy's Irish Whiskey in honor of Patrick J. O'Flaherty. So great honor for that man and for that family. I'm sure he still has family around, and just what a great honor to have a whiskey named after you. All right, this is a triple distilled whiskey. It's also a triple blend. It is a single malt, single grain, single pot still blend. So no age statement on this that I could find. Oh, and by the way, I did forget to mention Kilbeggan is aged for at least 4 years in ex-bourbon casks. So Paddy, no age statement, but they do say that it is aged in oak casks, and a little bit darker in color than the Kilbeggan, looking at the color of the whiskey. But let's give this a try, see how this works. So, my first impressions, a little bit of water, for my palate, and again, your mileage may vary. For my palate alone, I think the Kilbeggan is a better drop of whiskey. And here's why. Paddy's, this is also 80 proof, so these are both entry level, 80 proof. Paddy's is probably a little bit smoother because you're getting all three of the types of whiskey in there, the single malt, single grain, single pot still. They're able to really get that whiskey nice and smooth and bring out the best of all three of those. But I think in doing that, and again, just for my palate, I think it makes the taste, kind of makes them all a little muted, if you will, maybe too smooth, if that's a possibility. I really like the taste of the Kilbeggan, and perhaps it's me, perhaps it's because I prefer a single pot still or a single grain. And Paddy's, I don't know what the mash bill is, so I don't know exactly what the blending is. I just find the taste profile of this maybe being a wee bit too smooth. Not a bad thing necessarily if you're looking for a very smooth entry into the Irish whiskey world. Paddy's might be your best bet. But if you're looking for an Irish whiskey that has a little bit more body to it, maybe a little more oomph, reminding you that Irish whiskey should really kind of kick your taste buds into gear, then Kilbeggan is probably where you want to go of these two. So anyway, that's my take on these two. These are fairly common, not in the state where I live in. I can't find either of these. But then we have an alcohol control division. Perhaps if your state has free and open liquor stores, you ought to be able to find at least one of these, if not both, because they're fairly common. If you do pick up a bottle or both of them, leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought of this whiskey. All right? Check out my Facebook page, Sean's Irish Whiskey Shelf. Leave me a comment on the YouTube channel. I love to get your comments. I love to know what you're drinking and what you think of the whiskeys that we've had here on these videos. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. I love to see folks that like it. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. It would mean an awful lot to me. And then you'll never miss another video. I try to put them out once a week. So, until we meet again, I want you to enjoy your Irish whiskey. Always find a good reason to enjoy a drop or two, because no reason's a bad reason to have Irish whiskey. But remember, please do it responsibly so that you're here for the next video. I want you to be safe and be well, and we'll see you on the next one. Sláinte. Bye now.